Hello, everybody. My name is Philip St. John. I'll be doing some background music until the show really starts. So keep relaxing, keep chatting. You can listen, you can tune in, you can do whatever you want.
I call it How to Lose Friends and Infuriate People all in one easy lesson.
In my ropes I am free and fluid, open as my palms, and as I flow with movement, what I want comes easy in my arms. My work is never done, but when it's fueled by dreams and love, it's hard to sleep. It calls to me. I make what I believe in me. I'm not ashamed to be who I am. I'm not ashamed to be who I am. I'm not ashamed to be who I am. I'm not ashamed to be who I've been. Who I've been. Who I've been. Who I've been. Break me down and build me up. Got my heart that's filled with love. All my people know what's up. All my feet are in the ether. Break me down and build me up. Got my heart that's filled with love. All my people know what's up. All my people, all my people. I was always too soft, too fat, too this, too that. And my hometown mix, but my skin brown. I'm tuned in now, spirit in my corner telling me that I'm important. And the wisdom I was given couldn't buy it with the fortune. So I read my cards and I pray for warmth, for the hole in my soul that was ripped apart. That space let the light and fire reignited, left to mark the sun rises over doubts and fears that divide them. Push through pain, head up defiant. No more rain that swells up inside them. Put down hatred, picked up a pen to escape the matrix. This my path, that's my creation. Divine, I see with more than eyes. I'm finding freedom in me. I'm not ashamed to be who I am. I'm not ashamed to be who I've been. I'm not ashamed to be who I've been. I'm not ashamed to be who I've been. Who I've been. Ooh, who I've been. Who I've been. Break me down and build me up. Got my heart that's filled with love. All my people know what's up. All my feet are in the ether. Break me down to build me up. Got my heart that's filled with love. All my people know what's up. All my people, all my people. Thank you. This one's called Golden Waterfalls. Shout out Veronica. Before you fly, You've got to find it, that calling that's inside. We're on a ride to seek new horizons, so sit back, enjoy the vibe. Everything is mine, I know. Wake the mind just a little, I feel it's pour water on me, feels like gold. Take your time, makes the heart just a little more full with delight. Yeah, we'll be alright. I lose control when I write, sing however I like it real. Delight comes creeping up and takes a hold. Delight is steaming off my skin and walls. Delight comes creeping up and takes a hold. Love me so I'll let the water fall. I'll let the water fall. Love me so I'll let the water fall. Golden waterfalls, a new baptism. I go to source to feel the love of all. It's like a thunderous applause for every inch I gain, and yet the maze I walk, it does evolve. Teach me I should never stop becoming filled with wonder. It's the mother spirit clearing and cleansing the inner edges from fear to the deepest envies. Comparisons gone, I'm centered. Return to my highest self, bring me out to the grand collective. I've got a story to tell. Leave my fortress to spread this wealth. How I'm magical, abundant, and radiant as I am. How this reality's a dream and I'm weaving in my own plans. Who I have healed from generational traumas, and so can you. How my surrender to my health helps whenever I'm so confused. How I can let go even though I might have to face me alone. How I can work on how I speak to uplift another. I know it's all potential, exponential. Water falling on me gentle, close my eyes to hear the melody swimming beneath my soul. A delight comes creeping up and takes a hold. Delight is steaming off my skin and walls. Delight comes creeping up and takes a hold. Love me so I'll let the water fall. I'll let the water fall. Love me so I'll let the water fall. Ooh, ooh. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll get just a tiny bit louder each time. I think I need to make room for you. I think I need to make room for something good. Oh, I think I need to make room for you. Think I need to make room for something good. Check for louder signs, and they told me I am meant to be seen. If only I could open arms and drop my guard for whatever I'm meant to receive. Come now, don't block it, you got this. Expand all your options, now focus. Don't force what's already in motion. You'll see what is possible when you're in your flow. You'll see. Oh, think I need to make room for you. I think I need to make room for something good. Oh, think I need to make room for you. Think I need to make room for something good. Drove back from the city streets since the lights went on. Sky was purple deep. Though my drive was long, I heard a song from a car when it came out, maybe around summer 13. I remember when my mindset was more unhealthy, with no one to help me other than rhymes and a dream that was selfish. Out of my reach till my mind went deep. Worked a couple of jobs, hit the studio as much as I needed. 10 years passed, took a look at achievements. Still feel passive, but really I'm leading. And I still have doubts if I'm eating. Like, who am I to be seen and have an opinion? Who am I to dream and go any distance? Who am I to stack big plate and be great? To feed friends with joy and a stream of wisdom. I just gotta cut away all the doubt in this. Lead with a face so bright you can't touch. Free from the lies on the eyes that look up upon me. Reach up to meet themselves, the most godly need boundaries for me. Not sorry, be proud enough to be my own army. Speeding peace, name without harming. See my path as a God, and I'm feeling like I'm ready, cause I face myself. Healing from the heavy, only time will tell. You'll see what is possible when you're in your flow. You'll see, you'll see. It's time to be seen. It's time to show who you are. Cause deep down, you know you're a star. Now show us your heart. I think I need to make room for you. Think I need to make room for something good. Oh yeah. All right. I think that's about it. I think that's all we have time for. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'll be up later to do a more dynamic piece for you, but thank you for having me here in this luxurious, slow, relaxed time. I hope I buffered your spirits up a little bit. You felt that light energy. So thank you.
Hi everyone, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan here. I want to thank all of you for coming out to this conference and express my gratitude to the Council on Foundations for bringing you all together. I want to first start by recognizing the unprecedented and nerve-wracking turmoil that we are all faced with in this moment. And I just want you to know that I'm here with you every step of the way. It's in moments like these when people are using every tool in their toolbox to tear us down and our communities apart. And you know what? We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to come together and become even stronger than we were before. One of those tools that those of you in this room might know pretty well is philanthropy. But how do we define philanthropy today? We consider generosity in all of its forms. Your time, your treasure, your ability to transcend limitations and build up communities. Philanthropy fosters a sense of unity and shared purpose, encouraging residents to take part in social initiatives and civic engagement. Local donors and organizations understand their community's unique challenges, allowing them to provide highly effective and tailored support. And businesses that invest in local philanthropy build goodwill, strengthen their brand, and create a positive reputation within the community. And that directly impacts you and me. When I think about long-term change, I think about the sustained giving and investment in local initiatives that led to long-lasting improvements. Let's all take a moment to think about what our communities might look like in 250 years when those long-lasting investments have paid off. Will they look back on your efforts towards job creation and workforce development, the passion for employing local workers and creating skill-building programs, boosting overall economic growth? Or will they recognize your scrappy small business and entrepreneurial spirit? Or maybe they become a community with reduced economic disparities. Philanthropic efforts can successfully invest in all of these things, like in local businesses, helping entrepreneurs to get off the ground or sustain operations, making the dream of a vibrant local economy come true. Or with social inequities, funding essential services like affordable housing, food security, and so much more. The work begins with you. It is here, when the going gets tough, that we will dig deep and continue to pass the baton even in uncertain times. As you plan, respond, and support our local communities and network of organizations across our state, remember that vision of 250 years from now. It can feel like you need to respond at every turn, but we need to remember this is a long game. We need to be thoughtful in ensuring that we come out of these next few years ready and able to stand strong together. Philanthropy's dollars are generous and meaningful, but I know that they can't plug all the holes. Ask the tough questions and come up with creative solutions, not just for today, but for tomorrow and for generations to come. Thank you for leaning in. Thank you for coming to my home state. I hope you catch a Lynx game while you're here, but also just know your work is more important than ever before, and we are so grateful for all of you. Ci miigwech.
Hi, I'm Reba Dominski with U.S. Bank. Welcome to Minnesota.
I'm Katie Bitson-Amundsen with Lathrop GPM.
Hi, I'm Sean Flerke with Boreal Waters Community Foundation.
Hi, I'm Paul Mastiarchin with the Minnesota Council on Foundations.
Hi, my name is Mindy Nuring. I'm with the Grand Rapids Area Community Foundation in northern Minnesota.
Hello, I'm Dr. Eric Jolly, President and CEO of the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation.
I'm Jen Ford-Reedy with the Bush Foundation, and I'm excited to welcome you to the Twin Cities. We're Leading Locally 2025.
Hi there, welcome to Leading Locally 2025. My name is Michael Stroik. I'm with 3M Company, and we're so proud to have you here.
Hi, my name is Angela Fote from the Faegre Drinker Foundation. Welcome to Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Steve Jewell with Community Giving, standing on a bridge over the beautiful Mississippi River in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
I'm Archie Rybeck. I'm CEO of the Minneapolis Foundation. I want you to take a hike, or a walk, or a stroll, or anything to get outside in the most beautiful natural environment anywhere on the planet.
While you're here, I think you should ride a bicycle.
I hope you will take a walk around a lake. We've got lots of them. Take your pick.
Be sure to check out our local art scene.
Visit the M, a museum of art dedicated to Minnesota artists who tell Minnesota's story. Or the History Center, where you can probe everything from Prohibition to Prince. If you really are into Prince, don't forget Paisley Park.
One of my favorite things to do when in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area is go to First Avenue, the iconic music venue, and look at the Wall of Stars.
We are excited to have you here in Minnesota and hope you have an opportunity to get out and enjoy everything that Minnesota has to offer.
I hope while you're here, you enjoy the lakes. We've got 10,000 of them.
I hope you take the opportunity to experience our award-winning parks.
Welcome.
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 Welcome to the land of 10,000 lakes.
Welcome to Leading Locally 2025.
Oh, hello, and welcome to this place. My name is Megan Kreidler.
And I'm Alex Gallick.
And our current geographical location is 44.9 degrees north latitude and 96.3 degrees west longitude.
And the date is June 10th, 2025, and the time is exactly 3:10 p.m.
This conference is called Leading Locally, where foundations all over this nation have gathered in this place to talk about how we can grow the impact of charitable giving on the fabric of our lives and the future of this nation.
We're here because, well, we want to be involved.
Yeah, we want to have a voice in that.
We're on the cusp of a momentous occasion. The 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And charitable giving has always been a part of that history. It's always had an impact.
And as we reflect on that impact over the last 250 years, we ask, what impact can it have over the next 250 years? Can philanthropy help us become a nation of belonging, one that is a truly multiracial and multicultural democracy?
In just a few moments, you will learn about the power and the potential of place-based philanthropy in reaching that very goal.
Place-based philanthropy?
Yeah, you know, focusing on a particular location or area.
Well, when you say place, you're not just talking about geographical coordinates or square footage, right?
Right, that's just a space. Like this stage, which measures 16 by 36 feet, is a space. But a place is when a space becomes something more.
Right, a place has identity and a vibe and memories attached to it, and culture and history and purpose and...
Meaning.
Meaning, yes. Did you know that the original name of this place, this city we're in, is Bide Ota Otunwe, which in Dakota means many lakes town, 22 lakes to be exact.
Also known as Minneapolis in Minnesota, the 32nd state of the United States of America, established May 11th, 1858.
And the word Minnesota is derived from the Dakota phrase Minnesota Makoche, which means a land where the water reflects the clouds. Just over that way is a place called Bedote, where the Mississippi and the Minnesota rivers converge. And at that convergence is a place called Witatonka, what is also known as Pike Island. For some Dakota people, this is a very sacred, meaningful site of creation, thought to be the very spot of Genesis. But this site also has a very tumultuous history because it is the site where...
I think they're waiting to get started. They're here for the conference on place-based philanthropy.
And
Remember?
I'm talking about this place and what it means. And what I was saying is that this place, Bedote, is where the 1805 treaty, which wasn't really a valid treaty, was signed between the Dakota people and Zebulon Pike. This was the first time that Dakota land, 100,000 acres of Dakota land, was ceded in what we now call Minnesota. You see, Pike wanted this land to build Fort Snelling, an army base on this sacred site. And the tragedies that occurred after that mean very different things to this place and to the people in this place.
So, a particular place can have different meanings depending on your experience with that place.
Yes. And when you say that we're nearing this 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and how foundations and giving have been a part of that history, well, that means very different things to different people as well, right?
Sure, but charitable giving has always been a part of change and progress, of bettering people's lives, of bettering our democracy.
And I'm looking ahead to the next 250 years. I want to know how philanthropy can help us become a nation where everybody is valued, where everybody's stories and contributions are honored, and everybody, no matter who they are or where they come from, is empowered and thriving.
These are important questions. Maybe we should step into the future and look back.
You want to time travel?
Sort of. Okay, try this. What do you want people to say about your community in 250 years?
Oh, wow. Let me think. I would want people to say that the people in my community felt safe being who they are, and that they had equal access to housing, jobs, education, and healthcare.
Nice.
Oh, and that we had a robust art scene, and the arts were a place where people could heal and connect with each other and express themselves.
The arts, 100% agree.
What about you? What would you want people to say 250 years from now?
Well, I want people to say that my community was really cohesive, that despite our differences, we were able to listen to each other and collaborate and come to solutions that worked for everyone.
Well, that's ambitious.
Hey, we're not going to get there if we don't at least say where we want to go.
That's so true. Well, what about everybody out here? What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah. What do you want people to say about your community 250 years from now? Go.
Solidarity.
Yes.
Thriving. Joy.
Yes, yes. Let me tell you, I am so inspired and encouraged about the future right now.
Yes, I see these hopes as seeds.
Seeds that we'll plant here together. And over the next 3 years, with the power of place-based philanthropy, will grow into thriving realities. So don't go anywhere. There is a lot more to come, including Ashleigh Gardere, the president of PolicyLink. Megan, come with me. I have an idea.
Oh.
Well, good afternoon. It is an absolute pleasure to be with you today. I want to make sure to start with a huge thank you to Kathleen Enright, Kristen Scott Kennedy, who has a package on the way, Melissa Sines, Kristen Hoy, and really everyone involved in planning the Leading Locally conference this year. I can't tell you what it means to be entrusted at a moment like this. I also want to say thank you to the Council on Foundations for all the ways that you support donors and funders as they support local communities. Second, I have to acknowledge that this really is it's a moment of deep sorrow for many. We are only halfway through 2025. Already we have endured a terrorist attack in my home, New Orleans, a bombing in Las Vegas, wildfires in Los Angeles, and an early emergency response that has replayed our standard us versus them behaviors. And now protests in LA and across the country in response to increased immigration enforcement. I want to be clear that a conversation about politics or political ideology really isn't necessary. Each one of these events has been a mirror for us, revealing our inability to see each other and to care for one another. These events reveal our distrust in government, folks' a sense of abandonment, a deep, deep knowing that the nation really is not living up to its ideals. And what we know is that the sorrow we are experiencing today did not emerge on November 5th, nor January 20th. The social, political, and economic divisiveness, this widespread suffering that we see, it brews under the surface generation after generation after generation. PolicyLink is a national research and action institute, and we are working to transform our democracy, our economy, and community so that they actually truly serve all people. And for 25 years, PolicyLink, alongside so many other organizations and leaders and many of you in this room, we have offered our best thinking, inclusive planning processes, smart program innovations, thoughtful policy ideas to improve outcomes in our communities. Together, we have delivered billions of dollars in policy wins for people across these United States. And we've also spent the last few years reckoning with the harsh reality that 85 million people, that's 1/4 of the nation, still struggle to make ends meet. And you know that when folks struggle to cover their basic needs, to pay the rent or the mortgage, to pay the light bill, to buy groceries, especially folks not accustomed to struggle, we really do discover the truth about ourselves. The fragility of our relationships, how easily we can turn on one another in the name of self-preservation. PolicyLink's reckoning revealed that the ideals of this nation, the promises made in our founding documents, are right and good. Unfortunately, despite the beautifully written promises, the framers built a government and an economy based on a notion of winners and losers. They let principles of scarcity and competition and rugged individualism rule the day. In short, we're not simply engaged in a competition of ideas. We've been engaged, like everyone else, in competition. Psychologist Maureen Walker's words really stopped me in my tracks. She said that our culture tells us that if you are not better than someone else, then you are nothing. And so we fight. Some fight to make sure that they never become nothing, even if at someone else's expense. And many of us fight to make sure that our humanity is finally recognized. The truth is, we really are trapped in a matrix of winners and losers. Every day we wake up, we get dressed, we get to work, working tirelessly not to be a loser. And then there are moments in our nation's history when we are activated to demand more, when we recognize the cost of poor values is too great for us to bear, when coalitions find each other and bind themselves to one another and demand more for the least of these, demand that our governing institutions lean into the promise of all made in our founding documents. And this is not new. From Reconstruction after the Civil War, to women's suffrage, to the civil rights movement, to the fight for marriage equality, we are a part of a legacy of people who have brought us closer to a vision of a democracy and an economy that serves all. And those efforts are not confined to the federal government. So I want to share with you my own experience working in deep partnership with residents and community groups, local and national philanthropy in New Orleans about 10 years ago. I know I don't look that old, just 10 years ago. We started with a disturbing data point. 52% of working age African American men in this city were not working. We were missing the brilliance and the creativity of 38,600 individuals. And then a powerful partnership was activated towards a shared result, meaningfully reducing unemployment rates among African American men. We engaged government leaders and community advocates and private sector decision makers. Everyone was involved. I'm talking about the mayor's office, the Foundation for Louisiana, the local data center, local workforce training providers, our community college, the United Way, the Greater New Orleans Foundation, that's our local community foundation, major employers and small businesses willing to hire from our pipeline, even faith leaders willing to recruit job seekers from their congregation. I'm telling you, it was a robust partnership. And we hired and trained unemployed Black men as surveyors. They took to the streets of New Orleans and surveyed their peers. And the incentive for completing the survey was McDonald's gift cards, because the surveyors told us how important it was to meet folks' immediate need, food. We also hired men and women with lived experience as long-term staff and leaders of the initiative. We hosted expert roundtables and focus groups for job seekers, workforce training providers, and human resources professionals. We interviewed major employers to identify pain points. We hosted collaborative design sessions, we made that title up, to build prototypes that addressed employers' needs while creating more employment and ownership opportunities for neighborhood residents, especially Black men. And we measured everything. We established a monthly performance accountability system that we called Opportunity Stat. Then we revamped the Workforce Development Board to engage major employers and make sure we were maximizing federal dollars. We built industry advisory boards with clear pathways to good jobs and advancement opportunities. Ochsner Health System, Louisiana's largest employer at that time, established a new minimum wage, $12 per hour, that was up from $7.25 per hour. Remember, this was 10 years ago, for all of its 17,000 employees across the state. We successfully recruited 800 people to help build our new world-class airport. Folks were hired at a minimum wage of $15 per hour. We even passed local legislation, bolstered the city's contribution to a strong economy through local hire and living wage ordinances. We created a whole new service delivery model that fully leveraged the best of our community's resources. Beyond emergency assistance, we integrated financial literacy training programs and savings programs to support participants' permanent move out of poverty. And we celebrated huge results. The non-employment rate for African American men in New Orleans moved from 52% to 43.9%. Now, I share this story because I want you to know that I see you and I deeply respect the work that you do in your communities. The folks in this room are leaders and strategists and supportive investors. Beyond critical investments, you provide cover and encouragement to local partners trying to do big things. But here's the cold, hard truth. Despite the remarkable pace that we made change, progress would not persist. I'm telling you, we implemented every best practice that all of us have read about: collective impact and cross-sector collaboration, data-driven decision-making, community engagement and participatory processes, moving past programs and pilot projects to policy and systems change. We did all of it. But even when we move the needle, the change does not endure. We never seem to close the gap. The truth is, our governing structures were never designed for collective flourishing. The idea that you can win and I can win, that you can have a good job and so can I. Okay, so that's clearly the bad news. And we said we wanted to have a joyous occasion. So what's the good news? The good news is that the founding of this nation is not a one-time event. There remains an open invitation to continue perfecting this nation so that it works for all. The good news is that we don't have to expend all of our energy fending off and reacting to budget cuts and regulatory changes that shift from one administration to another. I don't know about you, but I really am tired of giving maximum effort for marginal change, then bracing myself for the backlash that ensues, just to start all over again. The great news is that we can step into a bigger, bolder possibility, a vision of a nation that finally serves all. So at PolicyLink, our leadership stance is a founder's stance. We have committed ourselves to redesigning the nature and logic of our governing institutions to serve all. We accept the invitation to be co-founders of this nation. So much so that when the lights come up, you'll see that there are pocket constitutions at your seats. And in the back of the Constitution, we've begun to codify essential capacities of a founder's stance: foresight, radical imagination, audacity, humility, self-renewal. I think it's super cool. I'm just saying. And it's important to acknowledge, especially in moments like these, that for some of us, our rage or our trauma keeps us from taking on a founder's mindset. For others, it's our humility that limits us. I had to get comfortable with the idea that the framers of the nation's founding documents were not superhuman, They weren't celestial beings endowed with supernatural design skills, but instead, courageous individuals willing to offer a new vision for a democratic nation built on the power of its people. And if we see them as humans, we can acknowledge their own self-interest and the imperfections in their design work. And I can be clear-eyed that when the framers penned the words, "we the people," I wasn't included in that. The truth of their humanity allows me to accept the invitation to continue to perfect this nation. But there ought to be at least one condition of being a founder. If and when you accept the invitation to be a co-founder of this nation, then you accept the responsibility of governing for all its people. And how can we govern for all if we cannot see the humanity of every person and if we cannot work in service of everyone's thriving? PolicyLink got clear that if we want to build something different, we actually have to become something different. We have to manifest souls that love all. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I co-lead a national policy organization, a think tank. And I'm saying that data, research, policy, and advocacy cannot fix our hearts. So there's some questions we have to ask ourselves before jumping to the design work, before rushing to programs and policy solutions. These are lessons I've learned. For the first founders, don't you wish they said, "When I say all, do I mean all? Or am I just using all as a front for my people? Can I work in service of everyone's thriving?" For us, and for me, as a person not included in the original definition of all, am I willing to live into its ideals, not sacrificing the beauty and the brilliance of my identity, but embracing the difference in others? Okay, so all of that is well and good, but what does that mean for a room full of funders that care deeply about the places where you live, work, play, and worship? I imagine you're saying, okay, so what can I do in this moment? The first thing I would say is to choose a role and lean into it with everything you've got. In a moment, we're going to hear from 3 extraordinary leaders who are activating people power in local communities. They're pooling resources to enact change towards a shared community vision, organizing civic hubs as places to practice everyday democracy, to address generations-old challenges in their communities. They're developing next-generation community leaders and philanthropists that will certainly bring new energy and new ideas to our community building and our nation building projects. These are just a few examples of replicable models that are worth considering in your communities. Second, I'd encourage you to bring an all consciousness to your places. Hold accountability for how your institutions and local governing structures deliver on the needs of local constituencies. What interventions, what institutional partners have the positional power necessary to demand that all must mean all? And if you need help breaking from the tribalism that besets us, just go to where the data leads. That's one way to move closer to all. Third, help us bring the dreams of the folks in your communities to this broader nation-building project, be it giving circles, civic hubs, or local coalitions. This next founding moment ought to include more than just a dozen guys held up in a room together, cussing, fussing, and splitting wigs. This founding moment ought to include the fullness of we the people. So PolicyLink is taking up the work of our generation to redesign the nature and logic of our governing institutions so that they work for everyone. We are bringing together folks across the country to identify new values, new governing standards, new policies that deliver for we the people, all the people. Help us organize town halls and listening sessions. Help us to gather stories and dreams of everyday people and set results of new federal, state, and local governing agencies to deliver on those dreams. What do I mean by that? I'm saying that if HUD is dismantled and CDBG goes away, what would we replace it with? What landmark legislation? What regulations would you craft to ensure that everyone in the nation has safe and affordable housing and a choice about where to live? And what about EPA? How would you ensure clean and safe drinking water for all? Remember, there's 2.2 million folks who still don't have access. And for the work I told you about, if the Department of Labor is gutted, how would you remake our governing structures to ensure family-sustaining wages so that we know that folks could pay rent and the light bill and buy groceries all at the same time? I'm inviting us to dream again. Don't settle for what we've got, especially when we know that we'll end up with less. And then finally, because you all represent place-based work and local funders, help us organize delegations from local communities to practice this founder's stance at our next summit in DC in 2026. If you really care, it's August 24th through 27th, 2026. Can you imagine what we can do if we activate folks across communities and our states across this country, demanding that our governing institutions finally deliver for everyone? Help us to do the work of our generation to redesign this nation so that it works for everyone. Thank you. So all of that was super heady and hopefully a little bit hearty. But it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Sara, Stu, and Charlie. And we're going to continue the conversation and really explore what all this means for our local communities. So, I shared with you a bit about what PolicyLink is up to and this introspection that we've been taking up over the last several years. One of the fundamental questions that we've been asking, particularly in this season, is what does it take to create an all consciousness in a country that has long excluded so many folks? Well, often we ask big questions like that, and we don't even intend to answer them. But today's panelists are really proving that this question doesn't have to be rhetorical. It really can be practical. Their work demonstrates the power of bringing people into relationships with each other, setting shared values, activating shared power, and delivering transformative outcomes in their communities. And so I just couldn't be more honored to be sharing the stage with you all. Sara, I want to start with you. Your work at Philanthropy Together really is about championing the power of collective giving. And you do that through giving circles. Part of why I love this example is because it is both innovative and centuries old all at the same time. And there's an audacity that you take up as you think about these giving circles and the activation of people power. And so I wanted to start with you because, this is a time where some of us aren't feeling all a bit of our agency. And so can you just talk to us about how the giving circles, this model and this reactivation of the model really has been helping to advance people power?
Thank you, Ashleigh. And Thank you, everybody, for having me here. Sara, Lomelin, CEO of Philanthropy Together. And thank you for the beautiful framing of Giving Circles, like that, the audacity and everything, because Giving Circles are for sure one of the most powerful expressions of people power that we have in philanthropy today. If you think about it, Giving Circles are at the core not just about moving and pulling funds, but they are about reclaiming agency, reshaping narratives, and really organizing communities to lead with their values. And the majority of Giving Circles do this in their local communities. The practice of collective giving is not new. It is totally rooted in ancestral intelligence, right? The AI before the AI.
That's right.
And for generations, communities have been, coming together to support one another, to, solve local challenges, build shared futures. And Giving Circles honor this legacy, but at the same time, they have this incredibly radical, inclusive invitation for folks to be part of philanthropy. And what's audacious about Giving Circles is that they really shift the center of gravity. They decentralize power by saying, you don't need to be a millionaire, you don't need to be super well connected, you don't need to be institutional to be a philanthropist. Your story, your voice, your lived experience, and your $50 are important. And that simple act of joining together to, take and make a shared decision of where money goes and why is building, not only financial impact, but it's building trust and solidarity and really a culture of shared responsibility. And in moments like this, when fear and polarization and disconnection is what is permeating in the whole world, Giving Circles are really offering a counter narrative of this. They remind us that we can come together across differences. We can anchor ourselves in shared values and take collective action. And they invite unusual actors, right? Like you and me, and many folks that are not the traditional people invited into philanthropy, into decision-making roles. And that's the kind of this all consciousness that you talk about, right? That we need, where people at every entry level in all corners of the world feel that they are part of the solution and they don't feel excluded from that. And we have seen this model flourish not only in the US, but across the world, not because it's trendy, but because it's deeply, deeply human. And as we think about the future of philanthropy, is this blend of ancestral wisdom and modern connectivity that will guide us, right? That will guide the collective power of our dreams and our voices and our communities to really build the world that we want to see. And we released a research report last year in partnership with the Doherty Center of Philanthropy. It's called In Abundance. Everybody should take a look at that. Where we see that collective giving groups really foster belonging. 82% of members in Giving Circles join the Giving Circles looking to build relationships with others who share similar values. 91% of respondents reported a positive impact in their belonging to a certain group. And I just want to finish this very long answer by sharing a story. We have been working for the past year with a corporate partner. It's a home remodeling company that has 21 offices across the country. And some offices are in very urban areas, some offices are in suburban areas, some offices are in rural areas. So very different folks in each office. with very different challenges in their communities. And we always start these giving circles with a conversation around values and finding those shared values in the group. And even though we have all these very different kinds of people, the same values resurfaced every single time. So I feel it's a lesson that there's a lot of noise telling us that we are more polarized than we actually are. The moment we open spaces for people to discuss, to listen to one another, to hear in different perspectives and find common ground, that is what, the beauty of giving and generosity happens. I'm going to say something really quickly that someone told me once. The accent is here to stay. I'm from Mexico City, but have been in this country for 28 years. So just put it out there. Someone that told me right at the beginning, you need to say where you come from, because people are going to be wondering, is she Argentinian? Is she Mexican? Is she Spanish? Where is she from? So Mexico City, been in the US for 28 years. Thank you, Ashleigh.
Oh, thank you, Sara. Well, first, I would just thank you for that reminder that all means all.
Yes.
And we don't have to give up who we are in order to join each other. You mentioned a few things around the relationship building, trust building exercise, all as an activation to people power, and folks having this audacity to believe that our circle of givers actually can enact change. I just want to offer an opportunity for Stu or Charlie if you want to weigh in.
You go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the broader question of activating all kinds of donors, right, I think you talked about agency. This is about agency. Yes. It is about saying you have a voice and you own a piece of this country and you own a piece of this community. Yes. And the very simple act of doing that, I think, is incredibly powerful, even if it's $10 or $50. Yes. So I'm all in on that.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, I'm coming to you. So your work is really rooted through the Trust for Civic Life, and you have really been elevating the role of civic hubs as a place for trusted community groups to come together. These are bridge builders, they're connectors, they're innovative solutioneers. This is a chance to bring what often feels like this heady concept of democracy up here down to the ground. You're exercising and inviting folks to engage in everyday democracy. Can you share a bit about what you're learning across the 20 civic hubs that you're invested in?
Yeah, so thanks for having me here. My name's Charlie. The Trust for Civic Life, for those of you who don't know, is a funder collaborative specifically focused on civic renewal across the country. So right now it's 17 philanthropists and growing who have pooled funds, but also built a learning community, really asking the question, not can we recreate what civic engagement looked like in the past, but can we actually reflect the future of what this country needs to look like, knowing that the trends for civic engagement aren't great. They're going down in so many ways, whether that's attendance to places of faith or whether it's actually getting involved in your local town council. So we have a concept that we looked at, built with some of you in this room, and some of you in this room are actually some of our Civic Hub grantees, so I encourage you to get to know some of those folks, and maybe I'll tell some stories here in a minute. But as we went around the country and talked with them, talked with local communities as well as the Civic Hubs themselves, some things became really clear. If we want to rebuild trust, and I completely agree on the idea of agency, it is a local game. Yes. This is not something that's going to happen nationally. And I think for a long time, philanthropy has been supporting national efforts in a hope that they're going to change the local dynamics and context. There's a long history of why we came to this conclusion. It wasn't necessarily a bad one, but it's not working out. So when we go into local communities and we're investing with these civic hubs, what we've seen is a few really specific things that I think are important for all of the action that we take leaving this convening in a few days. One is we have to open our aperture. We think a lot about terms of democracy and belonging and pluralism, and they are important terms, but they are not terms people talk about at the dinner table. No one's sitting around talking about democracy, but they are talking about the everyday issues that are important for them. In Eastern Oregon, so I live in Central Oregon, in Eastern Oregon, it might be the closing of a maternity ward. In Southern West Virginia, it might be how to find a decent job now that the coal mine's closed. It might be the local park, and you just want to make sure that it's a clean, safe place to take your kids or go have a picnic. It can be any of these altitudes, but these are the conversations that, if that maternity ward stays open, if they find those jobs, if that park is clean and safe, those are proxies for democracy. Because they start to speak to, is it worth it here? Do I have the agency to be able to go and create this change, or things happening that are better off? The second thing that we find inside of this is we got to think about the unconventional. Same thing with that idea of opening the aperture. We do so much work that's often on the nose when we think about democracy, and that's often voting. But voting is one of the most transactional things we can do. It happens very rarely. One of our grantees, Evan, Warm Cookies of the Revolution, for those of you who are in Colorado, you know all about their work. He kind of talks about it as being one of the cheapest forms of democracy. And we agree with that. And so if we have to think about the unconventional, where are the sewing clubs? Where are the fitness groups that meet at 5:30 in the morning and bring men together to have a place of fellowship? What's it look like to have a real estate co-op that's generating wealth for community members? These are things that we haven't been funding for the most part when we think about civics, but they're exactly that. Because these are where people come together to develop the skills. They have to solve problems with people who are different. They have to learn public speaking a lot of times. They have to figure out how to have decision-making processes. These are all the things that we want to have happen, but they're going to happen in really different places if we think about the future of this country. We can't go back to the formats and forms that probably traditionally worked. And then the last thing I'll say is people want to solve a problem. When we come into this work, we talk a lot about people of differences need to be brought together, and if we can just bring them to the table and they can talk to each other and meet each other, they'll find that it's not that different. They agree. Sara talked to us about an example of this. But the difference in Sara's example is they actually solved a problem together. I said, well, what's the problem locally that we want to invest in? How are we going to bring dollars together to actually make that happen? That's what we see is effective when we see these civic hubs working in their communities. They are bringing that community together to say, who do we want to be and how do we solve the problem? And action is right at the forefront. We just did a community survey with Johns Hopkins University looking at some of these civic hubs to find out what's really working, how are they making these successes happen. And one of the most prominent pieces was communities do not want to sit around and talk. They want to go solve a problem. That problem often is something very small because you got to build the skills to do it together, and then you grow through that.
Love that. I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't want to weigh in before others.
I want to say one thing about this. I think about this a lot. And I was in another group meeting yesterday talking about what's the future of democracy. And one of the frameworks was, what's your horizon? Is it horizon now? Is it horizon midterm? Or is it horizon long term? And I think most of the big funding right now is on what are we going to do today about democracy. But I think the work community foundations and place-based foundations do is always about the future. We're trying to build entities and networks that are going to make our communities stronger. And I think that makes the work we do as place-based funders different than what a lot of the national funding is about, which is, let's protect this. And it's work that needs to be done, right? We need to save voting and all that. But we need to build networks. And so I think it's a really, really, really important thing we do that others aren't doing.
Well, and maybe if you don't mind, just to tell like a very quick story. One of our civic hubs is the West Virginia Development Hub, based obviously in West Virginia. I was talking with them just a few weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, at the Appalachian Funders Network. Some of you might have actually been there. And at that convening, they told this amazing trajectory over the past decade that was looking into how do the 21 counties that are in southern West Virginia really focus and look to how they move to a non-coal-based economy. These were based on decisions local communities made. This is what they said they wanted. This was not projected from the top down. This did not bring in national nonprofits to come and try to solve it for them. And through that, they mobilized thousands, not like a few hundred, not dozens, like thousands and thousands of Americans in some of the poorest, reddest states to take action on their community. Those communities came together, put together projects that were downtown revitalization, workforce development, solar panel installations, secured $800 million in funding from the government, which is now frozen or cut. I think many people walked out of that story in that panel that our hub was on and said, crisis, emergency, we must go fill it. They were responding to the immediate. And what they didn't hear is thousands of local community members had been mobilized to do things like county-wide climate coalitions, volunteer nights at the bingo hall, working together to revitalize that cornerstone building in their community that's been abandoned. That's the asset that was built. If we keep investing in that asset, the $800 million, we're not going to go replace that with philanthropy. But if we don't do anything and we just focus on the crisis, we abandon these people who have worked hard and told us what they want and exhibited all the behaviors that we're talking about today. They've done it. How do we reward them, celebrate them, and make sure that they're seen? And what is philanthropy's role in doing that? I think, Stu, that's exactly what you're talking about.
And if I can add to that, I mean, you're talking about we need to create different spaces, right? Different spaces that are civic engagement, that are not the regular spaces that we're used to. And going back to collective giving, the many years that I have been working on that, I have seen that for many people, especially young people, giving circles or collective giving groups are their very first entry, not only in philanthropy, but in civic life. Yeah. Because it's like, like a light bulb, lights up that brings awareness of what is happening in their community. And after being exposed to that and sharing, decision-making process, sharing values, listening to different perspectives, then we see those folks, joining their local neighborhood association, volunteering more. The moment they become parents, joining the PTO, running for office. It's really, these kind of mini labs of democracy, because you are practicing democracy day in and day out when you are part of a collective giving group.
Yeah, I want to make sure this tension that was emerging, I said earlier, I want us to get out of the trap of false dichotomies, right? Either it's local or it's national. Either it's voting or it's, right? We need all the roles. We need all the people doing all the roles. And so just pick whichever one your heart calls for and lean into that, because I actually, Sara, to your point, the infrastructure that you are investing in, Charlie, adds up. It actually is important for its own sake. But what we've also seen is that it's that infrastructure that also feeds into state power building tables, that also feeds into then kind of the national and federal, that makes people realize that they actually have power at their communities, at the state, and nationally, that we don't just have to cede that stuff to someone else. And so I'm excited. I hope one of my legacies even will be that when I close my eyes, folks have at least appreciated we don't have to keep doing the pendulum swing thing, that we actually need all of the infrastructure at all the levels. And the power, Charlie, the last thing I heard you speak to is that local infrastructure actually creates demand for outcomes, for real outcomes at the local level. So Stu, Delaware Community Foundation.
The first state. I just want to point that out.
Okay, we repping for our stuff. Did I say I was from New Orleans?
Little tiny thing.
Delaware Community Foundation. Earlier I talked about that there are really 3 ingredients to a nation that works for all. One is that we actually have to value everyone's thriving. That's the all consciousness, that we ought to demand better outcomes for all, which I feel like the Civic Hubs does. And then there's this question of resources, and that we invest towards everyone's flourishing. It'd be great if you could just talk about how the Delaware Community Foundation really is working to allocate resources towards collective flourishing. And then I just fell in love with the Youth Philanthropic Board. So if you could just speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, happy to do that. So I'll start with something you weren't expecting me to talk about, and that is eudaimonia. So eudaimonia is a Greek word from the philosophers, and it from Socrates and all. And the word means, it references a life well lived, a life of happiness, of contentment. But eudaimonia is not happy. It's translated as happy, but it's not really that. It's about a complete life. And I think a lot about that concept which is a concept of doing not just for yourself, in my view, but a concept of serving your community, that if we live a life filled with eudaimonia, we are only fulfilled in our lives if our neighbors are also fulfilled. If the least of us are getting what the most of us. It's a terrible way to frame that, but that's the saying. But so I think a lot about eudaimonia, and in our work, and this is true of most community foundations, that's always front of mind. How do we make sure that we're serving everybody? Both bringing in donors into giving circles and things like that, and also supporting organizations as they build and communities as they build their own answers. One of the projects that I'm thrilled about, and is something we do in partnership with the state and with the University of Delaware. Kate DuPont Phillips is somewhere in the room, and she runs this program, and she's on a panel coming up. But called Healthy Communities of Delaware, where we have identified the 14 communities in the state. We're a little state. The 14 communities in the state with the worst health outcomes, with the worst vital conditions. And we agreed from the get-go we would only do this if we could commit for 10 years, and that the communities would create their own solutions, that we would provide resources and training and capacity building and conferences and cash, but we wanted the communities to build their answers, because when we walk away, if we can maintain this for 10 years, they're still there, we're not there. And so I think I'm incredibly proud of that kind of work, which is both we're here, and yet 10 years is not enough, I get that. But it's way longer than you can typically pull off. And given the current budget situations, I don't know, I'm a little worried about whether we can keep it going, because most of the money's from the state. But also, we're not the decision makers. We need to walk in with humility. And I think that is something when you work locally you get. You have to be humble in all this stuff. So you ask about the youth philanthropy boards too. I will say that in the two previous community foundations I worked at, we did not have anything this compelling with youth. This is a program that's now 26 years old at the foundation, where every high school has the opportunity to have a kid come and join the youth philanthropy board in that county. Small state, there are only 3 counties. So you can be in one of the 3 counties, and each county has their youth philanthropy board, and they start in the September, and they don't know each other. They're all kids from different high schools, very different situations, and they develop what they want to give to. They create the application guidelines, they set deadlines, they review they go do site visits on their own without adults in the way. And we provide money for them, and really lovely, our US Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester has a fund with us, and she puts her grant-making money every year, at least for the last 5 or 6 years, into that project. So she lets the kids decide what to do with the money. So, nice thing, right? We've all done things like that. What's amazing to me is how many times I'm in the community and somebody will come up to me and say, oh, I was a YPB kid. And they're lawyers, and they're doctors, and they're elected officials, and people have changed their lives because of that program. Kids will say, I came in, I was going to join my family business. There's one young woman, I was going to work in my family business building houses, and instead I'm a trauma counselor, because I went to some site visits and I said, I can do that better than I can do this other thing. One of my other colleagues in the room, Sara, and I were on a call recently, about a year ago, with some people from Capital One and JP Morgan for a project we're doing about equitable hiring. And as it started, one of the guys said, oh, I just wanted to say I was a YPB kid. And then another person said, yeah, me too. And a third one said. So there were 4 of them, and 3 of them had been YPB kids. I'm just amazed how it has affected and changed people's lives. Not in ways we program. We provide an opportunity and a vessel for them to take it where they will. But I think that kind of thing provides hope, provides agency. It's not a giving circle, but like you said, for a lot of those people, it's the first time they've ever done anything, and it changes their lives because they now have agency, and they now have a way to change their community. And I think that's the work we all do in different ways, and it's not the only situation. Every one of you has a story like that, but it's so important, and we can't forget. A lot of this work, I think of, it's kind of the blocking and tackling of community life. And it is just setting up opportunities for people to participate together, for people to have an experience, and people will take it and go all kinds of places.
So we have managed to start from ancestral intelligence to the visioning and the connecting of right now to the cultivating of the leaders of the future. And the theme across all of it is working together. And we say it just rolls off the tongue, working together. And the people in this room know that it is not as easy as it sounds. And so I think it's worth us just pausing and talking about the tensions inherent in working across difference or trying to move beyond my tribe to a greater good. You know, the story I shared about our local work, there was a lot of fussing and cussing going on in the background. Can you all just talk a bit about the tensions that emerge and lessons for the field about how to overcome those very real tensions?
I can start. Yeah, I mean, working together is beautiful, and it's super hard, right? One time I remember someone, when I was just talking about collective giving, raised their hand and said, my God, that sounds so messy. Why would I want to do that? Yeah. And yes, you know, it's not easy, it's hard. And because again, we're talking about everyday democracy, right? So you always have this tension because we want to be inclusive, and at the same time, we have seen many times with giving circles, that is that tension. Who, you know, what are those voices that we're lifting in a room? Which, you know, lived experience gets like to the top priority or not? Whose voices carries more weight, right? And they have been moments when in a group there has been conflict about, you know, what justice means like, or, you know, a cause or another. And we have to also navigate the very real pain for some of those members, right? Because we may be talking about something that is really close to their lives. And yes, it's not easy and it shouldn't be, right? And I feel for me, the lesson is that being in tension is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that we are showing up and we are anchor ourselves in, you know, in values, and we can learn again to debate and discuss and disagree and do not leave the table after that. And I want to just bring into the conversation dear friend and colleague, Hallie Lee, that just published her first book, The Big We, and I recommend it to everybody. It's such an amazing book. And she talks a lot about the metaphor of the kitchen table, right? And everything that can be built around the kitchen table. And in order to attack tribalism, because sometimes, I mean, it's human to invite to your kitchen table the people that look like you, or is very, you know, if I'm a mom with kids in college, well, I will invite other moms with kids in college, right? But she always talked about adding an extra leaf to your kitchen table, to invite people that are different than you. And you don't have to go radically different, right? Start small. If my giving circle are, you know, moms with college-age kids, I may invite some new moms or kids with no, or, you know, people with no children, just to start adding perspectives, right? And I feel that sometimes we focus on our differences, especially right now, in terms of just, you know, race or gender or sexual orientation. But we need to also think about every single time that we're not inviting diversity in our conversations, especially age. You're talking about young people. Every single conference that I go, we always said, like, we should have invited more youth. Not to be sitting, but to be talking, to be guiding the conversations. And I just want to share real quickly a story of a young woman in Arizona that, you know, she wanted to create a giving circle. She wanted to get a bunch of teenagers giving because she wanted to break this idea that teenagers cannot, you know, create change. And she got 10 kids from 10 high schools. Actually, she got 180 teenagers, giving $25 every quarter. That's totally doable, right? Some kids work for it, some kids saved, some kids, but the reality is that they get together every quarter. They have a DJ, they have music, they have fun, they have food, and they decide which organization to fund. And it's always something that it's really, that moves them, right? It's mental health, is, dealing with addictions, is homelessness in young people. And this young woman started that when she was in high school. Right now, she's in college, and she has helped start 28 teen chapters, not only around the US, but also one in Pakistan, one in Canada. She just told me a month ago that a young kid in Germany reached out to her. So it is totally doable, and of course it's not easy. But again, like it shouldn't be easy, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, part of what you brought forward in the stories is this requires a new way of being, right? Yeah. So if we decide we're gonna work together, even when it is our families, right? Sometimes
our families are the most difficult
right?
to deal with.
Particularly across difference, it often means we need new tools, new ways, and new types of leaders as well. Anything else you want to, Stuart?
Anybody who is educated at all in the Saul Alinsky style of organizing and community organizing, a lot of that is listening to the interests of the community and not coming in with your own preconceived notions. And it's an incredibly effective way to do that. And I think for us in community foundations, and people do a great job with it, but being open to things that we haven't thought of, and even being open to things that we're not sure are going to work. And if somebody comes in with an idea and there's a way to help it, set aside our judgment, and we need to try to get things that are going to work, but we also need, sometimes what's most important is just to listen. Say, all right, we can help you there in whatever way. And I think that is, the very effective Alinsky model. Barack Obama was trained in it. It's not something you see a lot, but it's a very effective way of thinking about our work. I used to say that, the day we as grant reviewers, I don't review many grants anymore, but the day you can't have a certain sense of awe and wonder when somebody comes in with a new idea is the day you need to stop doing that work.
Yes.
Because we, especially at Community Foundation, we need to be, that's cool, let's talk about it. Maybe it's a terrible idea, maybe you don't help, but being open to that.
I mean, I think there's also the sense that our default now is people are divided, and it's going to be hard, and I'm not going to agree with people, and so we're opting out.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know. It's going to be too difficult, or it's going to be too complicated. And the default lens that I think we increasingly bring is an ideological, political one.
Yes.
When you start with that, is the game over. You're not going to make it anywhere, and you're probably going to make it worse. I look back at the programming that's been done that the orientation is, let's bring two people who are radically different and sit them at the table together, and if they can just talk to each other, everything will be okay. But because you use that orientation, usually what happens is maybe a little empathy's built, but no behavior has changed, and people leave more entrenched in that individual identity. I mean, talking about some of the work that we do in funding, and I'll stick with the Civic Hub grants that we make. Nancy Van Milligan from Dubuque is here. Shelley from Anovia Foundation is here. And those are two examples where they're going into the community. They're doing exactly what Sara and Stu talked about, of saying, let's have the community decide what the actual issue is. Let's build their leadership skills in driving this. They're actually building out funds to say, let's actually co-invest with you and let's put you in the driver's seat of this. I think when you start there, all of a sudden, no one's divided. There never was any division. People came and said, what do you want your community to be? And it turns out everyone tends to agree what they want their community to be. They may say, you know what, it's a big issue, affordable housing. Great, let's go work on affordable housing. All the political stuff, all the ideological stuff, all the things that we perceive as different, they fall to the wayside. And I think when you're engaged locally, what we've seen is you don't have time for that stuff. This is where your actual life, quality of life, and your opportunity for success, or your families or your neighbors, comes in, and you will prioritize that pretty much every single time. So how as philanthropists do we take that lens?
Yeah.
Can I draw a line under that? We were talking about this beforehand. I think the notion that we're blue and red is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when we say that, we're telling everybody you have to join one of those camps. Those aren't the camps that most people think about most of the time. In our urban, rural, suburban, liberal, more conservative, go to church, don't go to church, employed, unemployed, white collar. All these things are in our lives. Philadelphia Eagles fans and Baltimore Ravens fans in our neck of the woods, right? Those are differences. Those are things people think about. But we, in our national discussion, we keep forcing the red-blue. Yeah. And I think it's a terrible idea, and I try to avoid it everywhere I can, because I think that does put us in, all right, we're going to come together and disagree, rather than we're going to come together to work on something.
Yeah.
What are we going to work on? Well, we need a stoplight or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, there's a community in East Texas we supported where the issue they decided to work on was painting stripes in a parking lot outside the main cafe in town that didn't have it, and so people didn't want to go downtown and park at that cafe or go to the cafe because parking was messy. It's like literally, that's it. It was front page in the newspaper. People flocked downtown because it's easy to park. But the interesting part, and we were talking about this earlier, is what everyone did after that. Because everyone said, oh, so if we can get the painting, stripes down in the parking lot, which took them like a decade, they're like, well, let's go do the next thing. Yeah. And they went and kept doing that, and that's the civic renewal. Because the civic renewal is based on something that's so simple that we share together and we build the confidence in ourselves first and then each other to then say, we can do it again. Eventually, what you were highlighting, we'll probably do something that's even bigger than our own community. Maybe it goes state, maybe it goes national. But some of these small things, we overlook them. We do not give them credence. And they are so powerful. They're the things that define us.
Totally, and you just remind me of this incredible network of giving circles called the Awesome Foundation. So they support awesome projects, tiny awesome projects all around. And it's things like that, like they get together and they do something fast, and they fund every month, and the community comes with different ideas of awesome projects, and everything is around civic engagement at the end of the day.
If you talk to international peacemakers, this is exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They go to a war-torn zone, and they figure out what is it this community most needs. We need a radio station just to tell us, if the roads are closed or whatever. They start with that, and that leads them to the next thing. And they just keep building and building and building. And you don't stop after the first thing. You say, now what?
Yeah, I mean, the irony of the whole situation that we find ourselves in as a deeply polarized country in this moment is this country has spent, 100 years at least, going and rebuilding democracy in other countries. And the way they do it is exactly what Stu said. Once your democracy has been broken down, often through a very violent, very difficult situation, often through civil war, what they do is they bring those communities together and they say, well, what is it you want to build together? School, radio station, a newspaper, a cafe. It literally does not matter. It does not matter. And then they rebuild it. And the two sides that were warring with each other all of a sudden start to build confidence and trust in each other.
Yes.
We just haven't had the Civil War yet. Most recently.
Recently, yeah.
Recently, right?
Right.
But we're dealing with all the same things.
Still dealing with the last one.
So we actually have the expertise. We know what to go do. It's just a question of, are we going to go do it? Are we willing to put aside the preconceived notions that we've had, our own ideas, and go into the communities and say, what is it you want to do? How do we trust you? And how do we get behind you, even knowing that you're going to make some mistakes, but that's okay? How do we come in and do that? And to me, that's what philanthropy is about. Highest risk capital in this country is philanthropy.
Yes.
Are we investing with risk, or are we trying to de-risk every situation that it's so safe that we can't fail? If that's what we're doing, then we're not doing our job.
Yeah. Well, let's. So the closing question. You offered the greatest segue, right? Like, we can't just do the safe questions. And the opening, Theater Mew asked the impossible question. And I'm supposed to ask the panelists, so I figured the most fair way to do this is to also ask you all in the audience, what do we want folks to say about us? What do we want our communities to say about us 250 years from now? The reason that we've taken up this notion of the founding continuing and holding the founder's stance, we've heard elements of the founder stance across this panel: radical imagination, humility, foresight, self-renewal, is because we still have work to do. And if we accept that invitation, then we ought to be willing to write down, there's some postcards that you see, what is the founder stance you're taking up, and what is the thing that you want folks in your community to say about you and your institution 250 years from now? And so, Sara, you want to?
Okay, I am going to, put it just out there, not as I hope, but saying, they'll say that we redefine who gets to be called a philanthropist. They would say that we help build a movement that put giving back to its roots of community and trust and mutuality, and that we invited everyone in. They say that we challenge the myth that only the wealthy can shape change, and that we demonstrated that everyday people, when they come together, they can fund movements, they can shift power, they can reimagine what the world looks like. And that we didn't just talk about equity, but that we built the infrastructure that embodied that. And that we planted seeds of collective leadership, of radical belonging, and of joy in giving. Because you talked about love, and if we don't instill love and joy and radical generosity, as you said, Stu, it's a way of being, it's waking up every morning and be radical with everything that you are as a human being, your smile, your time, your attention, your treasure, for the good of everybody. That we made it normal to co-create and to share decision-making, and that we acted in purpose. And we were not waiting for permission or perfection. That what we have right now in terms of our agency is enough to get up, to begin.
Yeah.
I would just say that.
That's just a small goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a legacy.
Good essay. I'll be quick. I say in 2025, the country recommitted to loving each other and making sure everybody was present at the table, had opportunity, and we built a sustainable world.
Amen.
So you said so many good things. Now, what am I going to say? I think for me, in the specific role, and I always want to embody myself in what's the role we get, the unique opportunity to play is communities would look back and say, through their philanthropic investment, they trusted us with the future of our community.
Oh, like that. Nice.
Well, thank you.
Well done.
These next couple days is not just about talking about it, it's about being about it. And I couldn't be more honored to share the stage with folks who are about that work. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you all. I didn't follow instructions well.
It doesn't matter, la la la, oh well, la la la. We're going at it tonight, tonight. There's a party.
In 250 years, I hope people look back on our local community here and they say that we took the appropriate actions to protect our planet and our people for the next 250 years, and that we recognize we're still around, we're still thriving.
I hope that people look back at our community and remark that the legal uncertainty of 2025 ultimately strengthened the nonprofit sector and raised further public awareness of the need to work together for a more inclusive and thriving community.
In 250 years, I hope people look back at this moment and say, philanthropy led the way towards a more just and fair society. I hope that our sector is seen as a beacon of clarity, an anchor of values that advance our shared humanity, and a source of courage to which others looked for strength to follow their moral convictions.
I hope people will know that Minnesotans cared for the water, the air, the land, and one another.
I hope that they'll say that we focused on building strong relationships that let everyone feel like they belonged and thrived in the area, and we weren't afraid to grow and change, and made choices that set the stage for a strong future for everyone.
I hope they say we rose to the challenge. And it isn't that we just kind of protected business as usual, but we took the time, we took the challenge as an opportunity to do better and be better. I'd like to see our systems change to bring more people in and have winners and losers, haves and have-nots. I'd see equity and fairness flowing forward. We say in our shop, all thriving is mutual. I hope that starts now.
In 250 years, I want to look back and say our community cultivated local leadership and cared for one another well.
Before we look forward 250 years, let's take a moment to reflect back even a few generations to a time when Native Americans like my great-great-grandparents could not transfer property without the signature of a white overseer. But life improved and my grandparents could transfer property even though they weren't citizens. My father and his generation may have been citizens, but without the right to vote, and universal suffrage came when I could vote. And my child can now marry anyone she loves. Wait for the future 250 years from now when we say it took too long. But we are feeding, we are housing, and we are educating everyone. Thank God we can do this, and we will get there.
All right, everybody. I know you've been listening to a lot of people, so we're going to switch it up. And if you would please maybe stand up for me, and we're going to do something a little interactive for you, if you want. Bear with me. For one song before we send you off, right? And by the way, my name is Philip St. John. Thank you for having me. Well, I was on my way to a picnic when the news hit my closest friend. The war's getting worse. Did you hear who's in a hearse or what that angry senator has said? Well, I'm not saying it's not important, but I got plans of sharing meals with my crew. And she was mad, but I held the pass. Said, come and join, get sent it too. Well, then she asked how I'm so calm and so cool. Well, I was raised by the river, and in its waters there was love. Not holding anything, floating merely down the stream. Hearing songs I want to sing that makes me think that we were made to be living, to take the good with the bad with the good. And life will have its bends when you're alone or with your friends. We won't know when it ends, oh no. Whoa. And you can move a little bit. Woo, woo. Hey. Since I was young, I was aware I was different. I'd sit alone, the kids and parents gave me a look. But it don't matter if you're loud or what your skin is. Just give it time, one day you'll shine and you'll have them hooked. I thought my troubles were gone in the cities, but whoa, there's problems anywhere that you go. I was beaten down and robbed, still my spirit's burning strong. So sing along, you'll hear me laughing down the road. 'Cause I was raised by the river, and in its waters there was love. Not holding anything, floating merely down the stream. Hearing songs I want to sing that makes me think that we were made to be living. Take the good with the bad with the good. And life will have its bends when you're alone or with your friends. We won't know when it ends, oh no. At times I am reminded how little we control. And I've been so lost, but I can't lose hope. Her dreams and her wisdom, I'll never let her go. So I pray to the river that she'll keep me afloat with love, love. And when my tears have dried, the sun will rise. Hey. All right, we're gonna take it back to the beginning. I know half the time we're worried about who's in office and who's in coffins, but this time we're gonna worry about what we each have to offer, and what we each have to offer is super important, and mine is music. So we're gonna do a call and response. I wanna see if you can keep up, all right? I know there'll be change, but we'll be okay. I know there'll be change, but we'll be okay. I know there'll be change, but we'll be okay. I know there'll be change, but we'll be okay. I was raised by the river, and in her waters there was love. Not holding anything, floating merely down the stream, hearing songs I wanna sing to make me think we were made to be living. Take the good with the bad with the good. And life will have its bends when you're alone and with your friends. We won't know when it ends, oh no. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hey. Thank you. Thank you so much to the council and everyone for being here. I'm gonna send you off. You can start heading on down. The reception's on the second floor if you'd like. I'll do a song playing us out. So, it'll be a little bit more chill. And I'm also available for shows. All right. Hey. Since I was a little boy, I could feel things heavily. If it didn't move me, I left it out my memory. Love it came down so early, too early for a spirit new to this form, and thoughts turned to worry. How is this here a gift? I would ask my creator on my knees by the bed, hands praying for the answers, but I never got replies in my life till later. What you are, son of stars, is blind faith in the making. See, you saw through the churches and Bibles they reworded all the greed in the hearts of the cowards, the sole purpose. When I gave them tools to structure their own freedoms, people got used instead. They fed egos. Now everybody walks around with the gray clouds overhead. Where your smiles at, where your good friends live a little, learn a lot till you reach the very end. But the future, I'll leave it in your hands. I pay, make some music I like. We can get together, turn the day real bright. And if we're this free with each other, I might just stay here, try to make it last all night. I pay, make some music I like. We can get together, turn the day real bright. And if we're this free with each other, I might just stay here, try to make it last all night. I used to run from the truth, but it always caught up. Used to cling to bad vibes, now I'm working self-love. Threw the bottle out the window, left the grass outdoors. Told myself once again, this life is yours. Cause everybody used me when I was messed up, but I let them twist and bruise me to fill my holes and cuts with something more soothing than loneliness. It sucked till I hit the loose leaf with new heat. Now what? Well, I'm walking the path of a true saint with the colors of an artist's arm with hues to paint. A masterpiece while laughing at myself. I'm so serious, proud of what I am, I'm becoming and what I ain't. And I'll be overcome with grief no more. I'll be broken, scared, and weak no more. And I'll be working forever until I'm certain that the hearts of mankind are an open door. Yeah. Music I like, we can get together, turn the day real bright. And if we're this free with each other, I might just stay here, try to make it last all night. Our pain makes the music I like. We can get together, turn the day real bright. And if we're this free with each other, I might just stay here, try to make it last. If I fall, let it be for love. I found my soul on the holiest walk. Yeah, there's too much light in the world to keep the shade alive. Alive. And if I called, would it be enough? Or should we stroll through the woods till we're lost? Yeah, sometimes we have to let it go, give our growth space and time. We're our time. Our pain is the music I like. We can get together, turn the day real bright. And if we're this free with each other, I might just stay here, try to make it last all night. Stay here, try to make it last all night. Stay here, try to make it last all night. Thank you very much. My name is Philip St. John. Much love.